Good morning, friends.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
So, welcome to the fourth day of this FDP on decision making. Our expert for today, Professor Jagannath Mohanty from IMT Nagpur, has already joined us. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me? Professor Jagannath, are you there?
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, Professor Mohanty is ready with his slides. Professor Mohanty, good morning. Professor Mohanty, can you hear me? फोन कर सकते हैं
Now I think I should be audible, and I think I should also be visible now, correct? Okay. Okay, so am I audible now? Hello, Dr. Mishra.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Dr. Mishra, are you?
Yes, you are pretty audible. Yeah.
Okay. And also, am I visible?
No, you're not yet visible. You're coming. Yeah, now you're visible. Hi.
Hello. Okay, so namaskar. All my participants and all my colleagues from different institutes. Can we begin the session today?
Yeah, I have already announced it. I have already told all the participants that our expert for the day, Professor Jagannath Mohanty from IMT Nagpur, has joined us. Participants, he has got more than 20 years of rich teaching experience, including in India and as well as in abroad. He was there in different foreign universities, including France and Saudi Arabia and other places like US. So you can learn a lot of things from his rich experience. and he's a teacher by choice. He has opted this profession only to impart learning to students because he likes teaching. So I hope you will have a valuable as well as enjoyable session for the day, the first session of the day. Professor Mohanty,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah, it's all yours. The stage is
Okay.
yours.
Thank you for that crisp, smart, and very generous introduction to the participants. Okay, half of the things that he has said can be discounted. Let me tell you, he also happens to be a great childhood friend of mine, I should say. Okay, and Dr. Mishra himself being a great teacher, okay, he's generous enough to call every other teacher to be great. But only after 75 minutes, I think we'll be in a position to conclude whether I could deliver anything or you could really gain anything from 75 minutes. Okay, so what I've done is I have these 15 slides with me for today, and I do not have a great record of completing my slides in any of those 75 minutes or 90 minutes that I'm allotted. Okay, so I will definitely try to better my own record today by at least completing those 15 slides. Let me see if I'm able to. And since I am talking to colleagues who are more learned than supposedly I am, okay, so I do not expect much to be taught over here. Okay, so what we will do is we'll try to make it as conversational as possible, right? Let us have a lot of fun. Okay, let's have a lot of humor. Let's have some experiences being shared on this platform. Okay, it's not very often that we get to talk to each other as teachers. It's very rarely that we get such occasions to speak and we get to hear from others. Okay, otherwise it's always between the students and the teacher. And teacher to teacher interaction is really uh, very, very rare. And at times when it happens, it doesn't happen with so many people on the other side of the table. So what I have done is I'm not going to take you through, the typical meaning and definition and implication of intuition and reasoning. That's not something I'm going to do. And I'm not going to do for two good reasons. First, I'm not good at it. I am not good at symptotic logic, or I'm not great at syllogisms. Okay, so that's a very candid and honest admittance that I'm not great myself at it. Okay, the first. And second of it, I think this platform is more for in serious kind of an experience sharing than making it a very heavy technical discussion on intuition and reasoning. And intuition and reasoning is generally so commonsensical, okay, in our life, in common lives, that we need not get into the technicalities of it. And somebody who is really interested in technicalities of it, I mean, at the end, I will give you, some reading references from here and there that I have gathered. Okay, so let's begin it with some fun and expecting that let there be a lot of fun in next minute. So I know we are late by a few minutes, and I'll try to definitely wrap it up within the time frame given to me. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Mishra, and thank you, CET, for giving me this opportunity to speak to my own colleagues from different institutions and places. And I know CET, being a foremost institution there in Odisha, organizes these activities regularly to enrich and bolster the understanding of the teaching fraternity. So having said that, let's begin, and let me begin. My good friend might have read and thought. Is the first slide visible to you now? Hello, participants. Is it visible to you? Hello, participants.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, so let me begin.
Professor Mohanty, you can enlarge the screen by pressing F5.
Yeah, that I can do anytime.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fine. Okay. Okay, so now is that any better? Okay, is the screen mode now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let me read out from what Shakespeare had said about men okay, maybe some 400 years ago. And I think distinctly Dr. Mishra would remember because he belongs to that faculty himself. He said, what a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty. In form and moving, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. These are the words of great Shakespeare explaining that how a beautiful creation a human being is. And yet we have come to a pass where we are here to attend a 75 minutes of discussion or 75-minute session on reasoning and intuition. Okay, and I suppose more or less all of us by this time would be quite conversant with the idea of both intuition and reasoning, because that is something that we use almost every second in our lives. Okay, sometimes we do things because intuitively we are motivated to do it. And at times we apply a lot of logic and reasoning, okay, a lot of questions, okay, and a lot of data and a lot of crunching of data that leads to a certain decision. Okay, but given what Shakespeare has said, that we are perhaps the paragon of all creation, okay, we are perhaps the best of the creation, we are hopeful that both reasoning and intuition would come to our rescue to make this world even a better place and help us evolving as better mankind over a period of time. Okay, now let me quote a few examples from here and there, okay, that I have gathered. Okay. Now I would expect each participant to very intently look at these particular offers or examples per se. Okay, and let us see that how really reasoning and intuition comes into play. Okay, well, let's look at the first example over there. India Today magazine's a subscription. Okay, there are three options available to you. The first is 1 year online subscription, rupees 795. 1 year print subscription, 1699 rupees. And 1 year online plus print is 1699 rupees. So my question to all my fellow colleagues sitting over there, which one would you prefer? I mean, if your mics are enabled and if you can unmute yourself and speak, you can. I mean, maybe we have 1 minute time for this. I mean, how many of you would go with the first, and how many of you would go with the second, and how many of you would go with the third?
I will go with the third, sir.
With the third. Okay, great. I think that was Dr. Koili.
I'm Koili Majumdar.
Okay, okay, great. Anybody else? Anybody else? I mean, a very quick poll. A very quick poll.
With the first one, sir.
You would go with the first one. Okay, 1 year online. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? We just have 2 respondents. Okay, fine. Okay, let me go by such surveys that has been conducted in the past. Okay, that what were the possible outcomes of such offers? Okay, like what Dr. Koili has said a while ago, majority of us would go with the third option. Okay, the 1699 option. And generally the reason behind it is, look, when you look at the first offer, which is rupees 795 for a year subscription, which is online. Okay, you get a feeling, no, damn, it's damn cheap. Okay, I should straight away go for it. When you look at the second option, okay, you are a bit discouraged. You think, hey, come on, it's a bomb. I need to pay 1700 rupees for a year subscription. Okay, now that is a little ridiculous. I mean, have they gone nuts? Okay, and then you look at the third subscription and you again think that it makes sense that I can read on the go. Okay, when I get the subscription or the magazine, being dropped at my doorsteps. Okay, I can read on the go. And at the same time, whenever I'm free, leisurely, I can sleep and I can read the same magazine. But my my question generally would be that why is it that most of us, I mean, most of the surveys also have indicated a similar kind of a result, that we go for a third one. Why is it that we frequently go for the third option? Any one of you could.
It gives us the feeling that with the less we are getting more.
Okay, good. Okay. Anybody else? If you could just unmute and respond.
Sir, I would have also gone for the third one because anytime we can have the online version also to read, or otherwise the print version we can carry at midnight time and so. But nowadays we are so much used to online things, everything from last 1.5 years we are doing online. So that's why now my option is that I would have preferred online only, which is only costing around 800.
Very good, very good. Okay, now that's interesting. Okay, I mean, if somebody else wanting to speak can still speak.
Sir, I just want to say that because we have the second option that makes the third option more lucrative. If we might not be having second option, then third option, first and third could be an equal choice. But because there is second option and we are getting more than that in the third option, so third makes the second option makes the third one more lucrative.
Brilliant. Okay, now what is this phenomenon all about? Okay, brilliant. Okay, now why do you think this phenomenon that you just talked about, okay, is driven by? What do you think drives us to go for the third? I mean, what the participant said right now, okay, is all correct, because we as human beings, okay, we get anchored. I mean, we'll talk about anchoring and other biases later tomorrow in the class.
Yeah.
We are basically, as human beings, we are very hardwired, and we are hardwired to what? We are generally hardwired to comparison, as we call it, relativity. Okay, our reasoning and intuition, it generally is defined and measured, okay, to the extent that what is the comparative value we get out of. Now, you see, for instance, if I take away the second option out, okay, let me take away the second option out, okay, the 1 year print, I think your decision will instantly change. Again, 80% of you would say that I would go with the first option and not with the third. What makes you to go for a third option is the relative value that you get out of the first and second. So if I obliterate the second option, okay, the first one becomes more natural for you to choose. Okay, you call this, do you call this a reason, or do you call this an intuition? We'll come to that a little later. Let's look at the second one. Now, Freedom Sale on Amazon. Okay, very compelling. We are all glued to our screens. Okay, and then it says 40-inch Samsung television, a smart TV, of course, for rupees 42,000. A 50-inch LG TV for rupees 51,000. And then an 80-inch Sony TV for 2,12,000 rupees. Now, again, I would go back to my participant and ask the same question, that, hello, colleagues, which one are you going to buy?
The second one, 50-inch.
Okay, 50-inch, 51,000 LG. Okay, anybody else?
50-inch.
50-inch for 51,000. Okay, it gets only natural, isn't it? You see, now we are able to recognize the trend, the pattern. The pattern is that the moment I take away any one of these options, it gets easier for you to decide which one to buy. The moment I bring in, you see, when you compare the 42,000 and 2,12,000 rupees, it gets much easier for you to reason and figure out that 50,000 to 51,000 rupees is a great deal. Okay, maybe if I take away the 80-inch option, because the difference between 50 and 80 is just 30 inches. Okay, in the screen size. But if you look at the cost, it's more than 4 times. And that is how your calculative mind tells you that 51,000 rupees for a 50-inch television is a real deal. So 2,12,000 rupees is actually an eyewash. It's an eyewash. And I'm saying this, that a majority of marketing companies and a majority of FMCG companies, they play on your innate ability to decide based on the quality of comparative offerings you have. Higher the quality of comparative offerings, okay, more you get confused and settle down with something, okay, that you think is the best possible choice. But anyways, the seller is able to sell what he intended to sell. Okay, Amazon will definitely end up selling out the 40 inches, 50 inches, and even 80-inch Sony TV. But the whole idea is that by doing this, they will try to stack more of a 50-inch LG TV when compared to 40-inch and 80-inch Samsung and Sony TVs. So you see how your ability to reason what to choose can give certain clues to the organization what to store and what not to store. Okay, now let's move to the third one. Okay, another household item, another necessity. This time it's the refrigerator. Okay, again, this is the end of the reason sale, and they are asking you to apply all your reason to buy. Let's see how does it work. LG 165 liter, 16,999. Samsung 225 liter, 27,999. And a higher 375 liter, 71,999. Okay, again, if I were to ask the question, which one would you be buying? Maybe quickly 1 or 2 responses over here.
The middle one, Samsung 225.
Okay, you see, it's not that you never needed a 375 liter refrigerator. Okay, given the increase of our buying, okay, the increase in the intensity of what we purchase these days, even a 375 liter refrigerator would not quite be sufficient. In fact, the data tells you that the large refrigerators are selling more than small refrigerators in the last 5 to 10 years. Okay, but then still your reason will tell you that it is better to buy the middle one, the Samsung 225 liter, because you feel it is the best value for your money. It may not be great as an utility, okay, but it is great when it comes to the value for money. Now, from where are we getting this reason? What do you think is basically embedded into the human behavior which forces you to make these choices that you've made in the last 10 minutes? Yes, please, somebody wanting to say, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, like this example of refrigerator and comparing that television example, sir, there is a little bit difference. You cannot have 240 inches TV and compare it to 80-inch one TV. It is a different experience of 80-inch screen. But in case of 165 liter one or 375 liter one, I can have two 165 liter also. That is divisible. I can have the same capacity and in the lower price.
Okay. No, you see, why is it that even in shops, okay, even when you drop into a shop, why is it they put on display, okay, large refrigerators also? They know that a ordinary buyer will come and buy only the one which is optimal for him. Okay, neither will he buy a 165 because he is a growing family, is no more a family of 2. He might be a family of 4 or a 5. Okay, he knows, but why would he put it on display? Because to somewhere tell you that there is an option which is an expensive option, but I am also offering you something which is affordable so that you settle your mind. The whole idea is that I am giving you an option which is unaffordable, I understand. But nevertheless, that option is there because somewhere that helps you to settle down with something which you think is rationally correct for my pocket and my needs. And hence it helps you to decide. Okay, now suppose if there was something in between, say 27,000 and 47,000, that might have confused you a bit because there is nothing much bigger to benchmark. So benchmarking, what I'm trying to tell you, that generally human beings since evolution, okay, like I said, we are so hardwired that we generally look at comparisons. We generally look at the relativity of utility. Okay, like we tend to compare kid to kid, we compare ice cream to ice cream, even compare wife to wife. Okay, and sometimes, and at most occasions, we get a feeling that we are deprived of something and somebody is luckier at something. Okay, and it happens not because you are trying to attach a value in isolation to something. This generally happens because we attach a value to comparison. So if you look at something is reasonable, when you say that now look, this is reasonable, okay, you say it not because in isolation it is reasonable, but comparatively it is reasonable, and you argue in favor of it. Okay, so no government is better than the other government, but conveniently you try to tag a government to be better than the other government only because there is a certain benchmark, and this reason is nothing but the reason of, as I call it, comparison. Okay, because you see, you are anchored to a certain value as hardwired human beings, and the moment that anchor is somewhere supported by an evidence, okay, you tend to go. Somebody wanting to say something? Somebody wanting to say something? No? Okay, okay. Then I may request the participants to please switch off, or I mean mute your mics for a while, unless you are wanting to speak something. I mean, because yeah, that's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you for cooperation. Okay, so what I was trying to say, that generally our decisions are driven by comparisons, what we call relativity. Okay, and relativity is so much there into our thought processes, not just in India, anywhere in the world. Okay, that rationality generally gets compromised. Okay, it's not that we generally make a purchase decision, even a selection decision. Okay, be it a wife or something else, we generally make our decisions. Okay, only when we have another benchmark, we have another anchor. Okay, and that is where we are driven by what the current values of goods and services and human beings are. Okay, and therefore I always say, you know, what makes Ravana a demon in the Indian context is only because we had a Rama. You remove Rama from the scene, and if you look at the credentials of Ravana, he looks like a Harvard scholar to me, a MIT scholar to me. He was knowledgeable. Okay, he was very prudent. Okay, he was fearless. He had given a great state to his own citizens. Okay, that any utopia could have ever imagined. Okay, people say that Lanka was better than Ayodhya. That is something even the texts are saying. So what makes Ravana? He was a great king in himself. What demonizes him is the moment we try to anchor him against somebody very idealistic like Rama. So the entire theory of reason, it gets distorted the moment we bring in the concept of comparison. So the whole idea of reason and reasonability, okay, gets motivated and distorted the moment we bring in the concept of relativity. So let's see to what extent we are able to navigate through, to what extent we are able to navigate successfully through the biases and the blind spots, the dark spots that's deep within us. How well are we able to navigate through, okay, the distortions, okay, that comparison has created in us. Essentially, no kid is a bad kid, but then you start viewing your kid very badly the moment you start comparing it with the best available in your neighborhood. And something similar, from a garment to a house, everything has a comparative value, and that is how we are driven. So reason generally goes for a toss the moment we bring in the concept of relativity. So have I made things clear? Am I making sense? I really don't know, because I keep blabbering, okay, because teachers generally are under the impression that people are listening to them, knowing that this is a misnomer. Well, so I mean, whoever are there, I mean, the number of participants, I mean, is this making sense? I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so how does this reasoning work? Okay, I mean, let's ask a few more questions. Okay, but is it that we generally prefer visiting a doctor privately, paying some 300, 400, 500 rupees, and in some cases, in large cities, it could be even 700, 800, or 1,000 rupees? Okay, so why is it that we avoid a medical college setup, or we avoid a district hospital or a subdivision hospital, and we stand in a beeline to get a darshan of the great doctor in his own chamber in the ambience of a nice television and the ambience of a nice little air condition blowing you cold over there. Why is it that we generally do this, knowing that he hasn't read 2 different textbooks on anatomy? He hasn't studied 2 pharmacology. Okay, he studied just the one text, be it anatomy and pharmacology. So his treatment will not be different whether he's sitting there in the medical college or he's sitting there out in his private swanky chamber. We all know why generally we see a doctor in private. First, let's try and understand that what is driving this phenomenon. Okay, like I told you that I will not be delving deep into what reasoning is, okay, or what a logic is, and take you through the labyrinth of mathematical logic and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm trying to give you a picture of how exactly reasoning and intuition works with us. Okay, so that our decision making becomes little better. That's my whole idea. Okay, I don't want to convey you the mathematical side of logic. So let's think for a while. And let's look at the second question. Do you often think an expensive medicine cures faster? I really don't know, but I have encountered something very similar happening with me. Let me tell you. Okay, by mistake, I don't get headaches. Okay, but my wife does get once. Once in a while, she gets a headache. Okay, I have never got it. Okay, so I have never consumed, headache medicine all my life. And then she would eat a particular brand of medicine. Okay, and then that would be costing what, 6 or 7 rupee per pill or 5 rupee per pill. I don't remember because I don't consume. She has that one particular brand of medicine which she would consume. So one day we were traveling, and all of a sudden she caught up with a headache, and then she tells me, "Can you get me a pill from somewhere?" I said, "I'll drop you at home. Okay, I'll go to a nearest medical store and fetch you a pill." So I did that. I dropped her and I went to a store, a drug store, and I got a pill, and I rushed back to home. I handed it over to her. She looked at the strip and said, "You are only going to increase my headache. Abhi mera sir dard badhega." I said, "Why? I've got you a pill." "अरे ये दवाई मैं नहीं खाती." "मैडम इसमें तो वही लिखा है, जो पैरासिटामोल होता है वही है, जो बाकी एक आधा है कंपाउंड वही." "I am going to, you have given me extra headache now." I said, "Why, madam? Why?" She said, "No, this is not the brand of medicine I take. I take a different medicine." आप जब भी जाते हो सस्ती चीजें लाते हो। मैं सस्ता आदमी हो गया इतनी जल्दी कि सस्ती मेडिसिन लाओगे? मैं 6 रुपए वाला मेडिसिन लेती हूँ, आपने 1 रुपए वाली मेडिसिन ले आई। आप मेरे 1 रुपए वाले मेडिसिन ने उसका सर दर्द बढ़ा दिया। Is it that we generally think that an expensive pill, all hell broke on me, let me tell you, the moment she saw the 1 rupee wala pill. She said, "This is catastrophic. I mean, you cannot do this to me. You have been so naive, you have been so heartless that you got something like this to me." Okay, all hell, broke on me just because I got that 1 rupee pill instead of 6 rupee pill. Okay, so like, do we generally think that expensive things tend to serve us better? And then, very closely related is, as I call it, the game of zero. Okay, I'm leaving this to you to decide. You see, these questions do not have solutions. These questions do not have categorical answers, as I call them. We do not have categorical answers to these questions, the first 2 of them. Okay, it's your personal choice. The question is, what drives us to those choices? How are we being driven? Okay, what drives is best known to you, but are we driven by the right reason, or is it purely intuitive? I don't know. Therefore, we are figuring it out. Is it intuition or reasoning? Well, so let us shift our gears a little bit, and let's look at the game of zero. How does it work? I haven't heard anybody coming back from a marriage reception and telling me, "Yeah, I have eaten moderately." I have never heard. Even 70-year-old man, okay, will carry a strip of Digene will eat, but he will eat or she will eat until it comes all till his or her neck, choke full of eating. Why is it that our appetite goes up the moment we visit a reception? While we go to a restaurant, we generally calculate कि हमको कितना खाने का है. How many dishes should we order? Why is it that the moment we go to a marriage reception or to a party, all our so-called self-control goes for a toss? Tell me. What happens to the very reason? A 65-year-old man eating 4 different ice creams. I've seen that. काका खड़े हैं लाइन में और 4 आइसक्रीम निपट चुके. And then I would ask, कि अंकल क्या बात है, आपको तो डायबिटीज है, बदहजमी भी होती है. अरे बेटा एक बार चलता है, और शादी हर दिन थोड़ी होती है बेटा, रिसेप्शन है, खा लिया, डाइजीन का स्ट्रिप है पैकेट. Whole idea is what drives us. What basically drives us is the concept of free. The whole concept of free basically is not driven by any reason. Researchers in MIT have proved it. Researchers in Caltech have proved it. Research, I think Reims University, and there was a study, I think Reims University, France, even there they have seen it. Across Europe and Americas, it has been proved beyond a doubt that anything that comes free, okay, has a very different madness altogether. Anything that comes free comes with a lot of madness. Okay, now let me tell you. Now suppose a Kit Kat which is available for 20 rupees. Now let me throw this example. A Kit Kat which is available for 20 rupees. Okay. And now suppose there is a Eclair chocolate which is available for 4 rupees. Now what I'll do is that I want to promote my shop, okay, which I've just started in the new locality. And I will bring down the price of the Kit Kat from 20 rupees to say 12 rupees. And I will bring the price of the eclairs from 4 rupees to 2 rupees. The research at least tells me that still the Kit Kat will sell more than the 2 rupee eclairs. Okay, because people think that if they are spending something, okay, they should spend on something which gives them value. So a 12 rupee Kit Kat gives them more value than a discounted 2 rupee eclairs. But the moment I make eclair free, I don't sell a single Kit Kat. There is some madness which comes with the concept of free. The moment we say that something is coming free, okay, all of a sudden we are occupied by the idea of winning. Why? Because innately by design, biologically, we have a huge aversion to loss. Any investment is a potential loss. Any investment. So a 4 rupee eclair, when it is available for 2 rupees, okay, is generally a loss because you are investing. But when you get the same for 0, okay, it's a net victory because you don't lose anything. So our aversion to loss, which is definitely very, very evolutionary, and very deeply seated into our biology, that we tend to avoid as much as possible. Imagine what happened when for the first time Amazon came to India. Okay, and it said anything that you buy beyond 500 or 600 rupees, the delivery gets free. I could immediately gaze, and I told my wife, not a single soul will buy anything which costs him less than 500 rupees. So he needed only a 50 rupee stuff. And then now the research is revealing that 90% of the customers exceed their buying simply because their delivery is going to come free. Whether they need it or they do not. And they keep piling it up. Your cart gets filled up only because you are wanting to wait. I have seen people buying shoes because socks were coming free. They may not need the shoes, but they bought it because they want socks to come free with it. The idea of losing is such an aversion to mankind that the moment they see that there is a zero, certain madness occupies them. And it tends to change their entire decision-making pattern. I don't know if I'm making sense. I really don't know. Okay, the same is the case with procrastination and self-control. Okay, every time we look at our waistlines, we think, come on, yeah, this is not how I looked when I was in my 10th standard. Many of us now in our 30s and 40s would look at our waistlines. Every time we climb, measuring scale, we generally tell ourselves, look, this is not how I looked at in my 10th standard, and this is something I hate about my own self. Year after year, we measure ourselves. We only add up. Every year, on the first of every year, we take a pledge that we are going out to run. We would be doing a 2-hour run or 2-hour walk. We would be visiting a gym. And it would happen from tomorrow itself. And then you take a pledge that no sweets anymore, no fatty food anymore, no fried food anymore. And then comes a hot rasgulla, if you are somewhere there in Orissa. Or there you have a chole kulche there in Delhi. Or a freshly made cup of rabdi coming your way. And you tell yourself, come on, I will run a mile extra tomorrow. Okay, let me have it for the time. Kal upvas kar le. Why is it that we generally tend to procrastinate things? What could be the possible reason behind it? Is there enough reasoning behind it? I sometimes wonder that why people tend to generally procrastinate. Again, you and I being teachers, okay, we encounter this phenomenon every year, every single trimester. I teach in a trimester system. Every trimester, 95% of the assignments come just 1 hour before the deadline gets over. I tell my students, I have experimented with my students. I have given them deadlines. I have given them rewards and punishments for doing so, and the results have been varying. Results have been very, very excitingly varying. The moment I distinguish between a reward and a punishment, okay, I have got wonderful results. The results I wanted to come. But the moment I give them the freedom, okay, it is generally hijacked. Procrastination takes over. Kya jaldi hai yaar, kal dekhte hain, parso dekhte hain. Why do I will not take you, deep into the human behavior of procrastination, because that would be too time consuming. In short, if I have to tell you why we generally tend to procrastinate, because there is certain amount of like theory X and Y. Let's not get into what McGregor has said. Okay, let me try to give you a simpler analogy than that. That human beings generally love subservience. We generally love subservience. And this subservience comes from the innate growth necessities that unless something comes in a harder and a harsh voice from a top, we don't listen. We don't respond. Now, when I tell my students that if you do not give it before a certain deadline, I'm going to deduct 2 marks. Okay, it works fantastically well. Does that imply that we are driven by punishment? No, we are not driven by punishment. Generally, government thinks that punishments work, but punishments generally do not work because there is no reason behind punishments. Punishments are deterrents, and humans have only got smarter to find out ways to outsmart what the government thinks. We have only outsmarted and outwitted them. We have outwitted to the extent that the moment or before a law is being conceived, we find out the loopholes in it. Therefore, the entire legal machinery works because there is a way still to defend the undefendable. Still, there are ways to figure out how a culprit can be saved because there are definitely certain loopholes. The way we think control works. Punishment doesn't really work. But there is something very innate, very biological about us. And the biological thing about us is that we generally tend to follow things which comes from a top with a powerful voice. So when I say at the top of my lungs that I'm going to punish you and you see the result, they come at a neck-breaking speed. धड़ 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 मेरा inbox भर जाता है. So you see, so what reason is driving you and me when I procrastinate, when I control, and what's the way out? This is a larger question. People generally tend to ask me, how does it work? How will I reduce my weight? How will I get over my addiction of eating sweet? पता नहीं लड्डू को देखते ही कुछ हो जाता है. People have told me, और वो रबड़ी देखते ही मुझे कुछ हो जाता है. और वजन मेरा घट नहीं रहा है. हर दिन सोचता हूं लेकिन नेटफ्लिक्स मेरे को होने नहीं दे रहा है. रात के 2 बजे तक मुझे देखना है till night 2 o'clock. Okay, I have to watch. There is a new series which was being advertised. A subscription में यही गेम है, यही ड्रामा है. Zero वाला subscription. The figures are telling us that there are very few families, okay, who would go for a very reasonable viewing hour subscriptions. Practical, pragmatic hourly subscriptions, the way AOL started, American Online. I'll tell you that how intuition guides us. I'll tell you. Okay, or earlier Netflix thought that why it shouldn't be a per movie or per hour subscription rates. That didn't work. The moment they came up with the idea of unlimited viewing or viewership subscriptions. Again, the idea I am losing for something which is unreasonable. हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि 1 घंटे का सब्सक्रिप्शन लेने से ये फायदा है कि हम 1 ही घंटे देखेंगे. No. Generally, we all end up watching 1 hour or maybe 2 hours because the moment you go beyond that, you lose somewhere else, right? The zero-sum game comes over here. Somebody's loss is somebody's gain. And you know that the moment I am trying to watch something more than I'm supposed to watch, I am definitely losing on something, either on my sleep, okay, either on my health, either on my assignments, either on my research paper. I am losing something or the other. But then it gets irresistible. Self-control ko kya hota hai? We all go for unlimited subscription. As I understand, an hourly subscription would be a nice time because that limits you. Limit chala jata kyunki wo महंगा लगता है. Per hour subscription is always costlier than the unlimited subscription that you might have just considered. Again, the idea of zero. What happens to your so-called reasoning, inductive, deductive, and adductive? तीनों reasoning को क्या हुआ? ना यहाँ डिडक्शन काम कर रहा है, ना इंडक्शन काम कर रहा है, ना एबडक्शन काम कर रहा है. कर क्या रहा है? So I'm saying that the whole idea of reasoning is basically flawed unless we understand that how our minds work. And this is no rocket science, guys, let me tell you, this is no rocket science. Procrastination generally happens, as I told you, because we have not been instructed by a strong voice. You know, therefore, I say that training will not happen unless you have a trainer with you. कोई डंडा मारने वाला चाहिए. You know, typically old school thought wala main hu. I still believe that freedom works. Yes, punishment doesn't work. I also believe and very firmly believe in that philosophy. But at the same time, I understand without regimentation, you don't get the kind of results you expect to get. And what is regimentation? Essentially, a lifestyle where you have time and space carved out for things that you are supposed to do. Okay, why the police is always late in reaching the crime site, but why the army is never late? What's the difference? Difference is this, that you can still question the officer in charge in the police station being a constable, but you cannot question the commanding officer there in your regiment or say your company. You cannot. Consequences would be very different. You know, sometimes I get a feeling that more you talk about freedom, okay, more you are talking of procrastination. Maybe something great will come out, but after 1 million trials. Maybe after 1 million trials. But if you want being closer to a real outcomes, real positive outcomes, somewhere I get a feeling that we need to come out of this so-called unnecessary freedom that we are talking about. Unnecessary freedom, I'm saying that the lack of self-control would definitely overwhelm you, okay, the moment you are given that freedom of not being told what to do. So one of my teacher friend who works in a school, he asked me that you still would punishment wala system chalta hai kya? मैं बोला उस तरीके से नहीं चलता है. We are no more in 1947-48. लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं limit तो होना चाहिए. Because the research tells me very clearly that reason do not work unless we have limits. Your morality has limits, your reasoning also has limits. Logic won't work unless there are defined boundaries around it. Logic doesn't work. And at least I have placed quite a few examples in front of you where, how and why the logic fails. Okay, so somewhere I get a feeling that the boundaries that we are talking about, like moral boundaries that religion generally talks about, okay, we definitely need to have boundaries, if not very explicit, but subtle boundaries are definitely needed. And it should be guided by somebody. So if you want to shed weight, okay, you definitely need somebody to tell you that, yes, you need to do it. हर दिन सुबह गालियां दे दो, तभी हो सकता है कोई फर्क आएगा. You need to figure out a figure who you think you can afford to listen to. Only then perhaps you will start a discipline. That, I suppose, defines that what something is being called reasonable. Is that not reasonable? Okay. So, guys, you know, it has been a one-way talk, and that perhaps is one of the limitations of, you know, online platforms, that even if I want to interact, it's so difficult. Okay, but anybody wanting to say anything at this point in time, please go ahead and speak. Anybody, anything? My humble request, anybody wanting to speak? Because you all are teachers, I understand. So please go ahead and speak. Please speak your experiences.
All the very valid points which we generally come across in our day-to-day lives. And you have very well articulated all these points with real life examples. So often this particular thing happens with us also at this stage as well. We keep doing the things, we lose self-control over various things. So that is actually something we need to learn and act upon accordingly. So we definitely need to draw certain boundaries.
Yeah. Mr. Seth, look for somebody who can yield a stick. That is what I understand. मैं तो अपने बच्चे के हाथ में भी छड़ी थमाता हूँ, अगर मुझसे गलती है तो भैया लगा देना एक आधा. Because that is how it works. That is how it works. अगर आपको कल से पतला होना है, yeah, please. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah.
The deadline is, say, of 10 days after today's time. So generally what happens is our productivity becomes low. So we take more time to complete a particular task if I know deadline is 10 days far from now. But if my deadline is closer, then my productivity generally increases, and I tend to do the same work which would have taken say 20 hours. I complete it in say 7 hours only if my deadline reaches. So generally, sometimes because of this reason, we procrastinate the things that in the end our productivity increase, and we'll do it quickly rather than doing it for long time now.
True, true. Dr. Seth, there is an exception to what you've just said. The exception is that an experiment was conducted in MIT that what is the impact, okay, of having these deadlines and how deadlines can increase your efficiency. But unfortunately, that did not work. Why did not work? Let me tell you. The moment you are given a certain leverage, a certain leeway, okay, the problem is we generally tend to lose the self-control. Okay, and why do we tend to generally? Because the guidance given give you the enough freedom to operate with the resources that you had. Okay, time, space, resources, everything, mix and match, and you try to. So what happened in MIT in this experiment, it so happened, okay, that the students who were given larger deadlines, say a day before the end of the trimester, okay, then the teacher was overwhelmed with the number of assignments because he would be taking another 2 weeks to correct and give it back. By that time, a pile of question papers will come and dump on his table that you also need to correct this. And generally, the teachers get busy only in the last 15 to 20 days, okay, of the trimester, or I should say the beginning of the next trimester, in case you are teaching in the next trimester as well. As is my case, I get mostly overwhelmed, overworked, okay, during the last 20 days of the trimester because everything piles up then. So here the problem is that it doesn't improve the efficiency. The MIT researchers basically also figured out that the quality of work drastically goes down if somebody is trying to be efficient at the 11th hour. Doesn't work. The quality of work definitely gets deteriorated. He will copy paste it from somewhere. He will not write a single line on his own because somewhere he is in a haste to submit the assignment because he was given 10 days. The whole idea is that self-control is a mechanism, okay, where you give the power to somebody else to dictate you. Okay, that worked very well with me in my own generation. It worked because you see, as I understand, for me, failure was a natural phenomenon. हम तो ऐसे ही बड़े हुए, लात जूते घूसे खाकर बड़े हुए, हमें तो कोई देखता नहीं, हम प्राणी की तरफ पड़े रहते थे कहीं पर. So for me, it was a very, very natural phenomenon to understand that there is nothing called a failure. It was all learning. My dad, my uncle, कोई भी कहीं से आकर के गाली देकर निकल जाता था. There was not at all a problem. It was not basically a fear. But actually, what I did was, as a human being, I surrendered to a great extent control to somebody else. And it's not that it did not help. Unless the parents are, which we can understand, okay, or your boss who is abusive, which you can understand, being normal human beings, being rational human beings, okay, handing over the control is not a great bad idea. It's not greatly a bad idea. But the whole problem is that we have been given a concoction of freedom, okay, which has generally no accountability. And without accountability, okay, freedom gives you the enough leeway to do a shoddy job. Okay, people keep asking that why Japanese are better than the rest of the world. Why is it that they are way better than the Americans or Russians or French or even the Indians? Why? And why is it that their model cannot be replicated and it doesn't work anywhere else? Okay, because Japanese, okay, they leave control to somebody else because they trust that the person who is controlling is quite rational in controlling the way he controls. I'm not talking about a communist rule, okay, where the state is taking over you. I'm still talking about a perfect democracy which works within those boundaries, those Lakshman Rekhas. And these Lakshman Rekhas are generally not drawn by the self. Because self is lazy, let's try and understand. The provocations are too many. The rabdi is a provocation, that laddu is a provocation, that buffet dinner is a provocation. And this provocation can generally be minimized, okay, when we leave control to somebody who you think is a trustworthy control. And that is where the concept of a coach or a trainer or a teacher comes from. The moment you made your classrooms absolutely open, you see what happened. Students cannot write anymore. Students cannot give a decent debate anymore. There are no more debate competitions happening. It's all happening on the WhatsApp. It's all happening on the Facebook. It's not happening on the stage because somewhere the control is lost. Somewhere I cannot tell my student, boss, कल 3 मिनट बोलना है तुमको, चाहे तुम्हारी पैंट गिली हो जाए या तुमको सांप सूंघ जाए. The way I was told when I was doing my schooling. Or my father would tell me, boss, tomorrow I'll take a grammar test. I don't know how are you going to fare over there. It is not fair. It is control. We call it a fear. Fear definitely comes out of control, but then there's also a factor called trust. So my understanding is your reason works, okay, only when you believe that you are a controllable object. Loss and lack of control will work, but you need too many trials. अब ऐसा बोलोगे कि भैया फेसबुक के फाउंडर को, या फिर हम जनरली ये एग्जांपल देते हैं, we start throwing examples of Microsoft, Google for every damn thing. कि उनका एम्प्लॉयर ऐसा है, उनका ये है, फलाना वलाना, and we generally try to give we generally try to attach a lot of significance to outliers. Facebook is an outlier. We haven't seen another Facebook in the last 25 years. Come on, but you need a military man to guard your boundaries, and it's a daily occurrence. You need more than 1 million committed army to guard your borders, and you need regimentation over there, right? You cannot work the way Facebook is working. They cannot work the way Google works. They need a certain amount of order. And this order comes from what you call control. This is not necessarily fear. Fear is a different psychological phenomenon which is different from control. The whole problem is that the neoclassical psychologists, they've embedded fear and control. They think that one drives the other, which I think is, I don't think it's completely illogical, but we need to work a little more on it. We need to do a little more research because complete freedom can be a spoiler. We don't know. Okay, I think we have discussed a lot on this. Let's move on. Okay, so now let's look at the definition and type of reasoning. Okay, and I think quite a few of you would have already read about it. Okay, but then for repetition's sake, let me read out again. These definitions were never written by me. It's a copy-paste job. Okay. So reasoning is the word. This is something famous, I think, world's one of the most famous American psychologists, B.F. Skinner, said reasoning is the word used to describe the mental recognition of cause and effect relationships. It may be the prediction of an event from an observed cause or the inference of a cause from an observed event. Just try and understand. Let me try to simplify it for you. Okay, one is from general to specific, other is from specific to general. Okay, the way you write your thesis, which is generally a inductive reasoning. Okay, that from specific you want to generalize. That I tested something on my sample, okay, with 500, 600, 1000, 2000, and this can be generalized to other populations. It can be generalized to other organizations. That is what you say, right? So thus, reasoning is a highly specialized thinking which helps an individual to explore mentally the cause and effect relationship of an event or solution of a problem by adopting some well-organized systematic steps based on previous experience, which is called heuristic, combined with present observation. Okay, so reasoning is generally of three types, as we call them: deductive, inductive, and abductive. And I think I have given you some examples on each one of them. Still, for convenience sake, let's look at the other. Why my slides are not going? They're not moving, man. Yeah, deductive reasoning starts with the assertion of a general rule and proceeds from there to a guaranteed specific conclusion. Deductive reasoning moves from the general rule to the specific applications. Are you getting? Just the other way around. The way you wrote your thesis, a majority of thesis, okay, which was inductive. Now, deductive is to the specific application. In deductive reasoning, if the original assertions are true, then the conclusion must also be true. So here, from general to specific is the journey. Example, a marketing division evaluates data and reaffirms that the company's biggest demographic is young parents. They are the biggest influencers in choices that kids make. Based on this information, they decide to allocate more of the marketing budget to social media platforms than target that. Very simple. Okay. Similarly, inductive, as I've told you, inductive reasoning begins with observations that are specific and limited in scope and proceeds to a generalized conclusion that is likely but not certain. So this is assumption. In light of accumulated evidence, you could say that inductive reasoning moves from the specific to the general. Much scientific research is carried out by the inductive method. I think a majority of theses, not all, but a majority of theses, they definitely take the inductive route. Example, a kindergarten teacher, I've taken your and my example, a kindergarten teacher has struggled. I have taken a KG example because it works better than with you and me in universities and colleges. Okay. KG teacher has struggled to hold the attention of her class throughout the morning. She tries an extra 5-minute activity, break 1 hour after school starts. After a week of mood improvements and attention gains, she decides to permanently add the extra activity break. So she has from specific, there was a specific sample. She tried and experimented with a specific sample and decided to make it a general. Okay, so this is how even governments work. They start with a pilot, okay, and once they find the pilot to be successful, they go and extend and expand the scope of the project. Okay, now there is something called abductive reasoning. This is again taken from abduction. Okay, so what is abduction? That when you do not have complete information, you still make your choices. You still make that decision, and it's a very prized reasoning actually. In organizations, particularly the discipline that I teach, MBA, okay, their abductive reasoning has a lot of value. Why? Because people generally are entrusted the responsibilities based on their ability to do some guesswork. Okay, we believe that a marketing manager will do a good job. Okay, even if he doesn't have a good information, even if he doesn't have plethora of or copious amounts of information, okay, but still he is able to make a educated guess. Okay, that who will buy and who will not buy. So, such people are generally valued in organizations. Okay, so you see, look at the example. While taking competitive examination, students face several challenging questions. This doesn't stop them from attempting all the questions because they want to choose the most probable answer. Therefore, they attempt all. जब तक कि negative number ना रखा जाए. You see the control. CAT exam में वही होता है. CAT exam में वही होता है. They give you a control. Therefore, the control variable is so important, as I told you, because that will stop you or that will resist you from getting too tempted to attempt things that you least understand. Okay, so even workplace appreciate employees who can make educated guesses and rely on their gut feeling. So I told you in business management, or at least in organizations, such people are valued, but they may not be valued in a scientific organization. They may not be valued. So it depends what kind of a logic you follow. Follow deductive, inductive, or abductive. Okay, so let's look at intuition. Intuition, I don't have to tell you much. This is just a gut feeling. Okay, though there are several definitions, but generally it's a gut feeling. Okay, like बोलते हो ना कभी-कभी यार मेरे को चाट खाने का मन हो रहा है. तो एक बार मैंने एक बच्ची से पूछा, बेटा तुमको आज ही चाट खाने का मन होता है या हर दिन होता है? तो वो थोड़ा घबरा गई, बोलती कि नहीं सर. I asked the student, I mean, because once she was just, in the city, I saw her, she pounced on the chaat wala literally. Okay, ye bhi, wo bhi, sab kuch chahiye. I said, like, is it an exception or a rule? He said, nahi sir, chaat kabhi kabhi khane ka man hota, kabhi kabhi har din khane ka man. But there is a difference. I said, kya difference hai? kabhi kabhi ki har din. नहीं सर कभी कभी. मैं बोला कल दोगी तो नहीं आओगी क्या? नहीं सर कल भी आ जाऊंगा. फिर कभी कभी कैसे हुआ? How is it कभी कभी? It's almost always. So where is intuition? I said there has to be a reason. And I asked her, is chart an intuitive decision for you, or is there a reason behind you eating? मैंने उसको बच्ची को कंफ्यूज कर दिया. फिर दोबारा मेरे पास नहीं आई. बोला नहीं यार ये पागल आदमी है. Okay, well, let's try and understand that how intuition works. Intuition basically works on a heuristic. And why we depend so much on heuristic? I hope I'm making sense, huh?
Sir.
Sir.
Okay. We generally depend on heuristic. And why do we depend on heuristic so much? Because heuristic is the job of a lazy man. And like McGregor says, that men are generally lazy. We are created lazy. ठीक है, hunter gatherers तो थे ही हम शेर की तरह. जब खाना मिल जाता था हम सो जाते. You think the moment you eat well, what do you think of next? Sleep. You don't think of work. अच्छा भोजन हुआ, कहीं नींद हो जाए, बिस्तर मिल जाए. And it's not just, don't think it's in India. You go to Vietnam and you see, 1-1.5 घंटा तो आदमी सोता ही है, जहां जगह मिल जाए. I have seen even people literally sleeping on the fields. घंटा 1.5 सांप काट ले फर्क नहीं पड़ता, but they have to sleep. जो ग्लूकोज का ओवरडोज होता है after they take a lot of starch, okay, stomach full of rice, okay, उसके बाद उनको सोना ही है. Okay, so intuition is generally driven by a heuristic, that when you have pleasant experience, you store it. Successes you store and you try to replicate because it spares you the time and energy. Heuristic के अपने कुछ limitations होते हैं, but the whole debate is that can we live a life without intuition? The question is, there are dangerous, deadly fallacies in intuition. Deadly है intuition. प्यार से लेकर घृणा सब कुछ डेंजरस है. प्यार करते थोड़ी है या हो जाता है. We say that. Come on, intuitive. कितने लोग रोते हैं उसके बाद फिर रीजन ढूंढने लगते हैं. पहले इंट्यूशन फिर रीजन. ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? प्यार इंट्यूशन हो गया, परिणाम रीजनिंग हो गया. ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता. There has to be a reason from the beginning till end. Your first choice was intuition. Okay, consequences are reason. प्यार पहली नजर में हो गई और घृणा हर दिन हो रहा है. ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता. So intuition generally is a gut feeling because it's a gut feeling because we are backed as individuals. We are backed with pleasant outcomes of events. And once your events have a positive outcome, we tend to replicate it. Okay, and this replication more or less follows a pattern. And we don't want to generally hobnob with those patterns. We don't want to experiment too much with those patterns. क्यों? हम आलसी हैं. हम आलसी हैं. 80% of the people are generally आलसी. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई आलसी नहीं है. तकरीबन हर कोई है. Hardwired है. Okay, so there are several successful people will tell you that their success is accrued from intuition. Researchers and experimenters and psychologists, particularly experimental psychologists, will tell you that intuition is such a slippery slope. Don't trust your gut. It's something that experimenters and psychologists tell you. To ask a few people, they tell you कि मैंने भैया अपने दिल की बात सुनी. I just followed my gut feeling. That is how. Stock market में किसी से पूछा जाता है भैया कि how do you make so much money? मेरा तो इतना डूब गया. No, I just followed the gut feeling. तो CNBC आवाज गया भाड़ में. I just listened to my gut. जब फाइनेंशियल टाइम्स में क्या लिखते हैं कोई मतलब नहीं है. I don't know what Hindu Line publishes. All I know my own gut. मेरे को लगा आज स्टील में पैसे डालो, डाल. आज लगा आईटी में पैसे डालो, डाल. बस. शेयर मार्केट क्या गट के आधार पर चलता है? I don't know. I am just questioning because I need to improve because my whole objective of this session is to improve my decision making. Does gut really work? I don't know. Steve Jobs says that. Steve Jobs बोलते हैं. The icon. What he says, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. लेकिन स्टीव जॉब्स के 4 ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खुद के फेल हो गए. उनको खुद अपनी कंपनी से निकाला गया. उनका मैकिंटॉश फेल था, फेल है और फेल रहेगा अगर वो फिर से कभी आएगा. The iconic Steve Jobs says कि gut works. So Apple could be a child of evolving circumstances, not merely the gut of Steve Jobs. I am just trying to. मेरे से डिबेट करो. मैं लड़ना चाहता हूँ आपसे, कोई लड़ नहीं रहा है मेरे से.
I would like to say something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
those who become successful on the gut feeling, they provocate gut.
Yes.
Let's say I achieved something, I will say, okay, yes, so my gut feeling thi and I achieved something. But
Yes.
when I followed my gut feeling and I did not achieve the desired result, the percentage of these people are more, and we don't know about these people.
Precisely, Dr. Agarwal, precisely. You see, that's what I said previously in this lecture, this conversation I told you before, that we tend to figure out outliers. हमारा problem क्या है कि जब हम example देते हैं, we generally look for outliers because they are very tall examples to prove a point.
Yes.
हमको भी पता है कि हमारे घर से Facebook नहीं निकलने वाला है. ऐसा नहीं कि मेरा बच्चा कमजोर है, पढ़ने में होशियार है, अच्छा है, गुड मैनर्ड, अच्छा बच्चा है. लेकिन इसका मतलब थोड़ी है कि मार्क जकरबर्ग है. मार्क जकरबर्ग और मार्क जकरबर्ग, अगर आप लोगों ने मैल्कम ग्लैडवेल की किताब किसी ने पढ़ी होगी तो जनरली these are isolated events. WhatsApp एक बार एक सेंचुरी में बनता है. Let's try and understand.
Yes.
Steel factory बन जाते हैं. So the outliers are easy to pick and easy to cite because they stand very tall.
So purposely, sir, in my class, sir,
Yeah.
when we were doing about these startups and all, so purposely I gave them an activity to find out about the unsuccessful startups, so that students know that where the how we can fail, rather than only talking about how among 100 one startup was successful, and we start saying, okay, let's do the startup, leave academics, marks are not important, job is not important, and it's only the startups who are being successful.
Brilliant. I think Dr. something.
But I just wanted to add, ma'am, because sorry to interrupt in between. Just wanted to add that hardly anyone who those startups who fail publish. So we'll not get much data on that. Those who are actually getting failed.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
another
but
issue.
I think that we need to improve. You see, the whole idea is that the whole idea behind this session is. I think Dr. Mishra wants to say something, and
yeah, Professor Mohanty, this has been really going on fine, but we are overshooting time, and the next session is due by 12 o'clock. So I hope you can wind up within 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think in the beginning I gave this disclaimer. Okay, that I don't have a very good track record of finishing slides, and I think
we can share the slides with the candidates. We can share the slides.
It's there with you. You can share with them anytime. Share with them. So maybe in next 5 minutes, what we'll do is, okay, I'll skip some of these. Okay, there are not many slides. I'll go to one particular slide, which could be of, there are some bright gut examples and there are some bad gut examples. Okay, we'll catch up at some point in time and then try this. Now let us look at, okay, when you have this choice to make between gut and reason. Okay, gut and reason. There is the debate, right? There is the debate. Okay, now there is an evaluation and there is a search. You evaluate options and you search options, right? This is how we make decisions. That's a classical template of making decisions, right? So when you have an evaluation and the search criteria, okay, there are simple and there are complex, okay, outcomes and both inputs. Okay, complex outcomes and complex inputs, simple outcomes and simple outcomes. Let us see how does they interact with each other. Okay, if you have a simple evaluation and a simple search, okay, there are few options. It's easy for you. Okay, marriage इसमें नहीं आता है. Marriage नहीं आता है इसमें. And the consequences are also simple because you understand. Next, your evaluation is complex, but your search is simple. So what happens? Options are few, but your consequences are very, very complex. Outcomes are complex. Okay, from here your decision making gets blurred. They get hazier. They get blurred. Here your real complexity starts from whether to go with. You see, the difference between a reason and a gut is this, that when you do not have enough time, exercise the alternatives, when you do not have enough resources to study all the possible outcomes and alternatives you have available, you generally go with your gut feeling. Like generally CEOs say that it is much easier for the middle management, to respect the reason and data. But when it comes to the higher levels in the boardrooms, it's again the gut. Data doesn't work over there. Why? Because the search may be as simple, but outcome could be very, very complex. Okay, and similarly, when your search and evaluation, when they are both complex, there are many options and complex consequences. Very complex consequences. That is perhaps where you need to bring in a lot of programs to analyze the different alternatives available. And the last one, you have simple consequences, but many options. Means your search is complex, but your evaluation is simple. Shadi isme aa sakta hai. Okay, your choice of partner may fall over here. But the search is complex, but the consequences are simple. Okay, so this is a matrix which might just help you to figure out that what should be your next course of action. Okay.
So, if for research students, for example, if we give a deadline to finish anything for work or for paper or anything, so which if and suppose they are failing that or deliberately they're missing those deadlines, so just wanted to know your answer, how to handle that thing.
Give your danda to somebody else.
Who will? Because I'm the only one who will handling, so who else has to be there?
You see, again, I'm telling you, it's a very simple. You see, it might sound very commonsensical. It might just sound very simplistic. Okay, because my idea is to simplify complex things. Okay, that's my idea. That is how I think I make my life more meaningful and happier, because I need to uncomplicate many things. Because complicating things, I think, is the business of highly intellectual people, and I don't consider myself in one of those. So all I understand that self-control and self-whipping is not possible with everybody. वो नहीं होता. And you're also talking to somebody, me. Okay, I've been procrastinating my research agenda for the past 6 months. Data पड़ा हुआ है, मैं analyzing नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. So you see, I am not a very good example over here. But what I understand, what I generally do is that I hand over the control to somebody else who I think is better at controlling me. And it works. वो सुबह उठ करके एक आधा बार अगर ज्ञान दे दे, दंडे दे दे, तो फिर काम धीरे धीरे लगता है. को-ऑथर रखने का ये फायदा है कि को-ऑथर अगर प्रोएक्टिव है, he will help you, she will help you. डंडा मारेगा इंडक्टिव, भैया करो, दिस इंडक्टिव रीजनिंग, he will tell you, भैया बढ़ाओ अपने क्वेस्ट को आगे, चलो लिटरेचर रिव्यू शुरू करो, इंट्रोडक्शन तो लिखो कम से कम, लेट अस बिल्ड अ मॉडल, कुछ ना कुछ कहेंगे, 2-3 पेपर भेज देगा. The whole idea is that self-control, okay, is difficult. Because we are created lazy creatures. The whole problem is that we have to shamelessly go and tell boss, मैं बिगड़ा हूँ, मेरे को सुधारो. Where is the difficulty over here? I don't understand. What is the great loss we are going to make out of it? By handing over the control to somebody else? We were happy 30 years ago because somebody else was controlling ever happily. मैं सब्जी लाने मार्केट नहीं जाता था, पिताजी लाते थे. Don't you think my life was happier then? I have to go and haggle for bangan and bindi every day. I have to haggle literally every day. घर आओ फिर गाली, कितने मिला? 60 रुपया किलो. बेवकूफ हो तुम, 50 में मिलता है. You see the difference. As I understand that the moment you hand over the control, who you think you trust, that's important. Not trust is important. Human relationship trust is very important. Hand it over. Research थोड़ा आसान होगा, बहुत आसान नहीं होगा, लेकिन self motivation इतना आसान नहीं है.
Thank you, sir.
हमारे पास इतने ज्यादा ऑप्शंस हैं, इतने ज्यादा ऑप्शंस हैं. We are spoiled by so many options. Netflix है, WhatsApp है, TV है, serials है, पता नहीं what or not. It's difficult unless you hand over the control. I am telling you, Deepak Chopra, क्या नाम था? Sorry, Deepak Chopra बोल रहा है. अभी जिसने नीरज चोपड़ा वो won a gold, और you talk to PV Sindhu, they will tell you the same thing. अरे वो 55-60 साल का आदमी क्या सिखाएगा उसको on badminton or on javelin? Nothing. What do they do? What's the job of a coach? What is the job of a coach, you tell me? Job of a coach is not to teach, because every player has a sweet spot. I'm telling you, I'm a partial athlete, I can tell you. Every damn athlete has a sweet spot. And the moment he hits the sweet spot, okay, he achieves what he wants to achieve. Every athlete has it. What's the job of a coach? We pay $1 million to get a coach. Mourinho itna famous hai. Who is being sold for $15-20 million a year? Coach ka kaam kya hai? Coach ka kaam hai to give you that sense of purpose. That why are you there on that field? Uska job hai to motivate. उसका जॉब आपको ट्रिक सिखाना नहीं है, क्योंकि ट्रिक तो उसको पता है. नीरज चोपड़ा जानता है how to throw the javelin so that it reaches 87-meter mark. He knows. पीवी सिंधु पता है कहाँ ड्रिबल करना है, कहाँ फोरहैंड मारना, कहाँ बैकहैंड मारना, उसको पता है. What that Korean coach was doing, he was simply motivating her, giving her the meaning of being there on the court. It's the job of coach. अच्छे कोच ढूंढ लीजिए, अच्छे गुरु ढूंढ लीजिए, सब कुछ हो जाए. हमारे शास्त्रों में भी यही कहा. So I get a feeling that somewhere we need to figure out a mechanism where perhaps we can. Okay, so we'll wind up over here. Dr. Mishra has already said like, we are getting late, and indeed we have got a little late because we also started. Okay, so the whole idea is that let's not be too over dependent on gut. That is a slippery slope. And it takes, there are conditions under which you can build your intuition, and these are generally long term. Short term intuition building नहीं होता है. एक mountaineer को 15 साल लगते हैं, 10 साल लगता है, cricketer को 10 साल लगता है. It takes generally a long time. ठीक है. So perhaps deliberation is deliberation. Okay. Question yourself on possibility of some biases. अपने आप से पूछो, am I biased? Okay, maybe 1 minute, one last minute. 4 sentences I will read out, that's all. Describe the presence and direction of a particular bias. In which way you are being biased, you think? Provide yourself a dose of feedback immediately after the decision that you have. 4th, ask for help in case you are stuck. That's all from my side, guys. We catch up again tomorrow, Dr. Mishra. Okay, till then, wish you all the best. If you have any questions, want the conversation, okay, I'm always open to it. Okay, thank you, guys. Catch you up again tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Mohanty, for your session. And dear participants, let me tell you, Professor Mohanty has accepted our request for another session in this FDP. We will be taking another session tomorrow, so we can have a lot more interaction tomorrow. I'm sorry to interrupt Professor Mohanty because the next session is due. It's already overdue. So thank you very much. Professor Mohanty, you may leave the meeting. Dear participants, all of you, please leave the meeting and join from the next session.
Thank you, Jagannath. Thank you, Jagannath, sir. Thank
you all of you. Thank you for being patient.
So you please leave the meeting and take a short break and join immediately in the next session link. Thank you.